1930, Belgium played in the first ever match at a FIFA World Cup, which saw them suffer an unflattering 3-0 loss against the United States. A single goal loss against Paraguay followed this. Belgium were eliminated without finding the back of the net once. Especially disappointing, since the trip to Uruguay took 15 days. The following two World Cups didn't bring anything, except losses against France and Nazi Germany, the latter of whom also denied Belgium a place at the World Cups of 1942 and 46 by starting World War II and forcing them to be cancelled. Having withdrawn in qualification for the 1950 tournament, Belgium made a return in Switzerland 4 years later. A notable highlight was their spectacular 4-4 draw against England, but the 4-1 loss to Italy sent the Red Devils home. Belgium's next World Cup hiatus also lasted 16 years. Despite this, the Belgians did experience some noteworthy highlights during these dark times, like beating the defending world champions West Germany mere months after they won the title in '54. They also triumphed over Hungary's Golden Team 2 years later, and they defeated reigning world champions Brazil 5-1 in 1963. Feats that gave Belgium the mocking nickname of World Champions of the Friendlies. In 1970, Belgium didn't aim to become world champions of the friendlies, but actual world champions, as they finally returned to football's greatest stage in Mexico. Here, the Belgians finally won a World Cup match, 3-0 against El Salvador, a historic win. Still, the cup was a disappointment, as they had to exit after losing their subsequent matches against the Soviet Union and hosts Mexico. Just 2 years later, Belgium played at their maiden European Championship. But given the fact that they qualified as hosts, it's not really an impressive feat. At the time, it was just a straight knockout 4-team tournament, and the Belgians had to face West Germany in the semi-finals. In the end, the hosts suffered a narrow and respectable 2-1 loss to the Mannschaft, but found some redemption in the bronze match by beating a Hungarian team that defeated Norway, Bulgaria and France in qualification. A respectable accomplishment, and their first medal excluding the Olympics. After the Euros, Belgium experienced another absence from major tournaments until they qualified for Euro 1980. This time not as hosts, but by topping a highly competitive qualification group, where they picked up impressive wins against the likes of Portugal and a strong Scottish side boasting Sir Kenny Dalglish. At the tournament itself, Belgium proved they weren't there through luck, as draws with England and hosts Italy, combined with a great win against Spain, granted the Red Devils a place in the final. Unfortunately, 2 West German goals once again spelled the end of Belgium's Euro campaign. Belgium's success continued as they made a return to the World Cup 2 years later, after once again winning a very tough qualification group. The only team the Red Devils had defeated at the World Cup until now was El Salvador. Now they were gonna face defending champions Argentina in the opening match. Against the odds, Belgium were victorious thanks to a goal by Erwin van den Berg. But above all, it was a good team effort. In the next match, Belgium again defeated El Salvador, who had lost 10-1 against Hungary. Now the Hungarians stood against Belgium on the final match day. The match finished 1-1, which was enough for the Belgians to top the group, and advance to the second group stage, where their tournament ended following losses against Poland and the Soviet Union. However, Belgium kept on being solid in qualification, securing their spot at Euro 1984 pretty comfortably. They started off with a good 2-0 win over Yugoslavia, which was unfortunately followed by a 5-0 demolition against host France. Still, things looked good for the Belgians 40 minutes into the final group match against Denmark, where they had a 2-0 lead, but the Danes mounted a great comeback and sent the Red Devils home. Fortunately, they didn't have to travel too far from Strasbourg. Then came the 1986 World Cup, again held in Mexico, and again Belgium lost against the Mexicans. To reach the tournament, Belgium narrowly eclipsed their arch-rivals the Netherlands in a high-stake playoff. Goals from François Verkouteren and Georges Green made sure the Red Devils advanced on away goals. A form of poetic justice, as the Dutch had narrowly denied the Belgians a place at the 1974 World Cup. Belgium also found justice at this World Cup by beating Iraq and drawing with Paraguay, to clinch a spot in the knockout stage against the Soviet Union, who had a squad of mostly Ukrainian players, and topped their group easily. In 1970, the Soviets defeated Belgium 4-1. In 1982, they won by a single goal. Their 1986 match ended up being one of the games of the century. Igor Belanov gave the Soviets the lead in the 27th minute with a great strike. Enzo Scifo equalized early in the second half, only for Belanov to score once again in the 70th minute. However, only 7 minutes passed until Jan Sulemans made it 2-2. The remainder of normal time failed to produce a winner. During extra time, Belgium made it both 3-2 and 4-2 thanks to goals from Stefan de Mol and Nico Klaassen, while Belanov secured his hat-trick through a penalty. Still, Belgium won 4-3. They had secured a place in the final 8. Here, Sulemans scored again, this time against Spain. La Roja did find a late penalty though, and extra time couldn't split them with Belgium either. The Red Devils proved a bit too potent in the penalty shootout, reaching a World Cup semi-final for the first time ever. They did lose it, but to have participated in one of the best matches of Diego Maradona's career must still feel like an honor in some ways, even though it of course felt devastating in the moment. Belgium's bronze match against France was also spectacular, but the Red Devils narrowly lost 4-2 to Le Bleu after extra time. Despite failing to qualify for the subsequent Euros, Belgium earned a spot at Italia 90, where they were pretty successful yet again, earning wins against South Korea and Uruguay, albeit losing to Spain. However, it was enough to secure a spot in the round of 16, where England won thanks to a brilliant David Platt volley just a couple of minutes before the match would be heading to penalties. The 1994 World Cup was a similar story for Belgium. After enjoying a solid group stage where they won against Morocco and rivals the Netherlands, the Red Devils suffered a devastating 3-2 loss in the knockout stage. Once again, it was West Germany. A silver lining was the performances of Michel Preud'homme, who was named the World Cup's best goalkeeper. Despite qualifying for France 98, Belgium failed to replicate their previous success at this championship. 3 draws weren't enough to secure a spot in the knockout stage. To be fair, they were undefeated though. Belgium qualified for Euro 2000 as host for the second time, this time organizing it with their northern neighbors, the Netherlands. Belgium's respectable opening win against Sweden gave them false hope, as losses against Italy and Turkey cut their tournament short. Belgium's impressive World Cup streak continued though, qualifying for their 5th consecutive tournament in 2002. They enjoyed an average competition that saw them once again be eliminated in the round of 16. But to be fair, their group was definitely on the easy side. This marked the end of an era for Belgium. They didn't qualify for a single major tournament until the 2014 World Cup. But when they did, they came there as one of the contenders, or at least one of the primary dark horses. By now, Belgium's second golden generation had started emerging, with several players playing for top clubs across Europe's elite leagues. In fairness, Belgium's group was once again pretty easy, but they had earned that by being highly seeded thanks to their excellent performances in qualification. The Red Devils topped the group by winning every match, and defeated a resilient United States side with a heroic Howard between the sticks, in the round of 16 after extra time. Unfortunately, Argentina's Gonzalo Higuain ended Belgium's run in the quarterfinals, but the Belgians still made it that far at a World Cup for the first time since 1986. It's actually incredible how seemingly fast the rise of Belgium was, from failing to qualify for a European Championship to deservedly reaching the quarterfinals of a World Cup, and even arriving at the tournament as somewhat of a contender, despite no real recent pedigree. Belgium came to Euro 2016 as one of the favourites, qualifying quite easily, but notably losing against Wales in Cardiff. And the Belgians didn't get off to a good start, being defeated 2-0 by an unfancied Italian team. Still, the Red Devils restored order by beating the Republic of Ireland and Sweden to secure a place in the knockout stage. This is where they really kicked into gear, hammering a Hungarian side that had exceeded expectations and been solid up to that point. Belgium has a tradition of playing attacking football, and their golden generation is no different. Wales, who won against Belgium a little over a year earlier, awaited the Red Devils in the last 8. Regardless, the Belgians were enormous favourites. In accordance with expectations, Belgium took the lead thanks to a thunderous strike by Raja Nainggolan, but Ashley Williams' header later in the first half brought Wales back into the game. Early in the second half, Hal Robson-Kanu gave the Dragons a sensational lead that was later extended by Sam Vokes. Wales 3, Belgium 1. Another devastating exit for the Red Devils. Belgium's golden generation showed no signs of decline in the 2018 World Cup qualifying, where they won all matches but one. The Belgians once again arrived at a major tournament as one of the top contenders, a label they proved to be warranted by convincingly winning all of their group matches. However, Belgium weren't as convincing in the round of 16 against Japan, at least for the first 67 minutes. Then the Red Devils once again put in another gear, scoring 3 goals in 25 minutes to secure a spot in their second consecutive World Cup quarterfinal, the first time they did so successively. Just like 4 years earlier, it was a South American team, but not Argentina. It was Brazil. Belgium obtained quite a fortunate lead through an own goal, but there was nothing lucky about the second one. Kevin De Bruyne's brilliant shot made it 2-0. Renato Augusto's consolation goal in the 76th minute never became more than just that. Belgium were in the semi-finals for the first time in 32 years, where they would face their big brother to the south, France, who notably defeated them in the bronze match of 1986. It was an end-to-end game that could have gone either way, and was ultimately decided by a Samuel Umtiti header. Another disappointing loss for Belgium, who would have had good chances to win the title against Croatia in the final. Still, the Red Devils finished the tournament on a high note, winning their first medal at a World Cup by defeating England for the second time that summer. However, it was a bronze medal, and Belgium would be intent on getting gold at the upcoming Euros. The Red Devils again easily clinched their spot at the championship, winning every match in qualification. They kept on winning at the tournament itself, 3-0 against Russia in St. Petersburg, 2-1 away against Denmark, and 2-0 against Finland. Next, the Belgians edged past Portugal in the round of 16, setting up a quarter-final tie with an Italian side who had been emphatic thus far. Unfortunately, the Italians proved a bit too emphatic for Belgium, sending them home prematurely. Yet another disappointing exit for Belgium. Belgium do have some young prospects with bright futures, and they seem to have become more of a talent factory rather than a country that produces a golden generation every 30 years or so. Still, with their best players aging, it's only a matter of time before they start declining. Qatar 2022 is likely the last chance for Belgium's second golden generation to win the World Cup. Only time will tell what happens later this year. If Belgium play to their full potential, they can definitely win the title. However, they've struggled to do so across the most recent tournaments in the latter stage matches that really matter. This trend must be broken if Belgium wants to win the trophy.